Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We are very excited to have Sue Huffman with us. She's representing Insights, and she's going to talk about how you can use technology to incorporate environmental science into your classroom. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to the expert. So thank you so much for joining us, Sue.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for the great introduction. Just to reiterate, yes, this is all about using technology to address environmental science topics and just add another layer to whatever subject you teach, whether it's environmental science or not. I think right now we just have one. So Lisette, if you would like, you could tell me in the chat what school you're at and what subjects or grade levels you teach, and I can keep that in mind while I'm going over it. But the main topics we're going to talk about today and really explore in depth are Google Earth tours, citizen science projects, ones that are local and are hosted by local entities, and then others that are just national or international, and how you can incorporate those opportunities and share them with your students. And then lastly, we're going to cover simulations. A lot of kind of lab investigations aren't so accessible maybe to investigate environmental science. And so I want to share some resources that I found that I think will be useful. And so thank you for that info, Lisette. Early childhood. Oh, just because you're not teaching, AP environmental science or anything like that doesn't mean that we can incorporate these subjects in there, and actually children, especially young children, can explore some of these more in depth. So thank you for letting me know. A little bit more about myself, just to give some background. I am an El Paso native, born and raised. I got my bachelor's in biology from UTEP, and I minored in secondary education. So I am certified science 7 through 12. And currently, I am the education curator for Insights El Paso Science Center, but I'm also the outreach manager for ADP Math and Science Teachers Academy at UTEP. And the combination of both of those positions allows me to kind of, through Insights, learn and try out all sorts of crazy ideas and new technologies. And through Mass Academy, I get to see really what's going on in the classroom, the struggles and the successes, and be able to share what works with the pre-service teachers in the program and with all of the teachers who attend the professional developments that are hosted by Insights. And there's more about Mass. If you're not familiar with Insights, you might remember it as a physical building. We did have one. I remember going to it when I was young. However, since 2017, and that's actually when I joined Insights, we have been 100% outreach, which means that we bring the exploration to you. We've been doing virtual programs with kits that we put together and take to you. We've done pop-ups and all sorts of things inside, during school and outside of school, with educators and with other entities. And so I really like what I do at Insights because I also get to work with pre-service teachers. In this photo, we have 2, 4, 6, 8 teachers that are actually teaching in El Paso right now that have gotten some of their feet wet at Insights and just turned around and went into teaching, and they're all math, science, and physics teachers currently. Just to go over how to use this. So this website that I am sharing my screen is the presentation. I do not have a PowerPoint. I don't have a Nearpod. It is this Google site. And so I understand maybe you might be watching this on YouTube. Maybe we can put the link in the information below, but everything that I'm going to show you, all the links, all the information, it is all hosted on this little Google site. It's open to the public. Everything will be available after the workshop to people who are here now, viewers of the recording, and you can just honestly send this link to anybody you know who you think might benefit from the resources contained within.
Perfect.
I kind of figured this out after doing quite a few virtual PDs. But yes, so Lisette, you can click on that link that I just put in the Zoom chat, and you can follow along. Depending on how you would like, you can make the screen half your browser and half me, or you can just follow along with me. I will incorporate some time to explore it on your own. I don't really want to talk the entire time. So we will do some explorations. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. So we're on the home page, and that's just all the general information. All the good stuff is contained under content. So if you click that, it just takes you to a new page on the site that contains oh yeah, that's fine, Alyssa. Thank you. I will explore it with you, and you can give me instructions if you want. Click on this, you click on that. I'll be your guide. So the first one we're going to talk about is Google Earth projects. So I originally knew this as Google Tours. And what I learned was that Google Tours are being phased out, and they're kind of combining it with Google Earth. And so before I talk about how we can incorporate this into the classroom, I want to take you on a tour. So if you click on this link, and I have it open right here, it opens up a project that I have made. And so I created this to kind of show you what it would look like from a student's or a viewer's perspective. And we're just going to go on I'm going to call this an abiotic and biotic factors tour. This is kind of what I had in mind when I made it, just so you can see how something like this that is made for general consumers, is just made for maybe communicating your trips and things like that, can be used in a science context. So we're going to go ahead and travel. So our first trip, if you come along with me, the animations make me a little motion sick, but that's okay. Our first stop is in Rio Doce. And so the nice thing about Google Earth is that it's very much almost crowdfunded or crowdsourced, right? We have this guy, I don't know Russell Marsh, but he took this beautiful panoramic photo and uploaded it. And now we get to use it ourselves. And so I wanted to focus for stop one. You can think about 3 abiotic and biotic factors. And this is something that you might not be familiar with those words, but biotic just means living, anything that is alive. And so in this photo, I can see some trees. I know that those are living. I know if I go in one spot and I zoom in, there's actually some people walking. So I'm going to say those humans. Oh yeah, they're down here. Maybe, I don't know if they knew they were getting their picture taken, but we can say that's another one, right? Human beings. But we can also see some abiotic factors such as the sunlight. There's clouds in the distance, and we can see soil. And what I like about this is Google Earth can allow us to travel anywhere in the world, or we can keep it localized. Just because Rio Doce is so close doesn't mean that a lot of our students have ever been there. And so we can kind of show them the beauty and the diversity of the area we live in without having to schedule school buses and get field trips and snacks and all that. So let's go to the next stop just to show you some of the variety. So that one uses a picture taken by a person, and they submitted it, of course, to Google. And now we're going to take a trip to near the Insights dinosaur track site. So I obviously work with Insights, and one of the things that we do have is a plot of land by in Sunland Park that has dinosaur footprint fossils. We have marine life fossils. It's a beautiful site. And so I wanted to take you all there with me too on this Saturday morning. And this feature from Google Earth utilizes just the basically street view. So the sites are actually more in depth. They're more, into the desert. It takes a little hike, but we can use street view to see whatever is, the Google car traveled on, and we can go up and down through it.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is that the tour that the geologist gives? I think we did that with our kids once. It was like 3 hours.
Did you like it? What do you remember?
It was very informative, and I had no idea that the dinosaurs, you could see their prints, I was like, oh wow. And he was just telling us how like everything was submerged underwater. I had no idea. He's pretty cool.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're familiar because I think it's awesome as well. Being from here, I can relate to kind of this idea we have about El Paso and its natural history. And then you learn like, wait, we were on a coast? What? There was an ocean? And we have, fossilized evidence of that. And I think it just makes it allows students to see just what we don't see just walking by, what we need to look for. And we do tours. Actually, I'm glad that you bring that up because Insights does do dinosaur track tours. And one of the things that we have in development right now, I just saw like a preview of it, I think on Wednesday, is actually an AR tour that you do on your phone. And instead of having a person and all that, you kind of take it on your phone and you can see, what kind of dinosaur maybe made these prints. We don't know for sure, but to see the size and very cool stuff. So I'm glad you brought that up, Lisette. And I like this stop because, yeah, it's just utilizing another one of Google's features with the street view, something that you don't think, that you might not think immediately. How can I use this to engage my students in science and get them making observations about environmental science topics in the world around them, the world that they're very familiar with? We'll take another trip. Another one, I wanted to take us to White Sands, and I just love kind of showing the diversity that you can get to within maybe a 2-hour drive, not even. We were just at Ruidoso with lots of trees, and then we went to Sunland Park area that has, undergoing stratification, and then we have the White Sands, and it just shows, even within a desert ecosystem, the diversity that you can get based off of elevation and geological history and things like that. And again, using it not just to show students, hey, this is neat, but also having them apply what they're learning, the content, the topics, and having them see it in things that they're familiar with from their day-to-day life, and doing it all either virtually or from the classroom. And our last stop is mostly just a fun one, just to show you that you can do quite a few things. I'm not sure. So this one is also about a stop, and just like we can do with any of the Google tools, we can drag our little guy and get into Street View. And so here we're about maybe in Valentine, Texas, and there is if you didn't know before, a Prada. It's a fake store actually, but it's called Prada Marfa, and it's just an art installation of someone making basically a fake Prada store. I've seen it quite a few times, and there's like shoes and purses there.
So bizarre. It's like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, the drive to Marfa's like nothing, and then
Prada.
Oh. And I like this because I am a firm believer that even if we're focusing on science and science topics, art and culture and things like that are always relevant and can always be included and serve as a kind of a means for discussion, or just another way to kind of show our students about the world around us. And this is what Google Tours allows us to do, allows us to kind of take advantage of all the free basically resources and things that Google has developed and harness it for our classroom. So thank you for coming along with the tour with me. We can all go back to El Paso and back to our site. And so let's focus on how we can actually use this in the classroom. So my suggestions, I have, where the teacher creates, but I'm going to be honest with you, I like to make the students do the work. We don't have time. They can be making these things themselves, but just to give you the idea, if you create a tour using the Google Earth program, you can do just what I did and take the students basically on a field trip with you. And whatever concept you're focusing on, what you're trying to teach them about, you can take them there. The tour, if the teacher creates it, you can also just share the link. This link, if you click on it, takes you directly to my tour that I made, and you can have students go through it on their own time or in groups and say, well, travel, however long you need to be at a stop is however long, and then you can move on at your own pace. And then what I really like is we're not just limited to our ecosystem or our area. We can go everywhere and explore different ecosystems or even like micro ecosystems that exist in other places and allow our students to kind of travel there and to really see these things as they are, as opposed to just, technical terms or illustrations in the textbook. But what I really like and what I have found is that Google Earth is extremely student friendly. If our students are using other tools, even Google Maps, because it is a Google product, it's kind of hosted on your Google Drive. And because it's so student friendly, your students can be the ones creating the tours, looking for the locations and identifying them and really planning out the virtual field trip. And it really depends on what you want them to see as to what prompt you give them, but they can travel along and create that virtual tour. I really like the idea of similarities, kind of have maybe Mediterranean ecosystems across different latitudes. You can have students, I like the idea of having them visit either ecological disasters or succession afterwards, right? We can see how ecosystems and environments bounce back after experiencing maybe a wildfire or something like that. And just having the students create that and utilize the technology and become producers of technology and not just consuming it. They're creating with it, they're learning, they're applying their knowledge, they're sharing what they think is important, what they think others should see. And I find that extremely valuable. And just getting to use another piece of technology that can help them in their future or in other classes, whether it's social studies or anything like that. But this is where I like to kind of point out is have the students create it. And so if there was more people, and that's okay, I was going to give you all time to explore it on your own, but for the sake of the recording, we still have some time on my schedule. I can go to Google Earth and kind of walk through how to create a project. Actually, I'm not signed in, so I'm not sure it'll let me, but create a project or place stops. So we can take a look at that. We can see, let's see, project.
So can it go anywhere on Earth? Can it go to like where the pyramids are and stuff like that?
Yes, thank you for making a suggestion. Let's explore it. So we don't have to be in my tour. We can just search. And if we search, we can try Egypt. Oh, apparently there's an Egypt, Texas. Okay, let's not go to Egypt, Texas. There's Paris, Texas. There's an Egypt, Texas. So yeah, because they integrated this with Google Earth, we can pretty much go where we like. I think we can zoom in. And it does have other features. Let's see what's the Voyager. Those are ones that Google has planned themselves. Oh, feeling lucky. Oh, it takes me wherever. Well, there we go. Now we're in Knox County, Maine. But that's what I really like about this is Google Earth is already a powerful tool in and of itself, but combining it with the ability to kind of choose landmarks and create a guide for the students to follow is pretty neat. And it's a intense program. It just blacked out on me there, but that's okay. That's just one of the things because it is so just strong, such a strong program, and my computer is not wanting it. But that's a good question, Alyssa. And yes, you can kind of go wherever you want in the world. Here are two examples. I like this second one. Let's see. It's not liking me right now. WebGL graphics acceleration. I think it's just giving me an error because it's a Saturday morning and they know I'm recording, so my computer doesn't want to deal with it. But what this tour number 2, if you click on that one, it actually follows a a ship that's on a kind of on a research voyage, and it follows along their stops and has tons of information, way more information than I included on my little tour, that follows along the ship as they go and collect data and do their research. And you can kind of follow them through the world as they complete their project. And so we can go ahead and move on. And just wrapping up Google Earth Tours. Yes, so if you remember it as just Google Tours, it is now rebranded as Google Earth Projects. But I think that's okay because now we're able to utilize all of the things that Google Earth has to offer with the ease of use of essentially Google Maps. So now we're going to move on into citizen science. And before I jump in, I recently learned that citizen science is that kind of verbiage might be a little problematic maybe. And I heard community science offered as a alternative. And honestly, I kind of like that suggestion. I wish I had changed it on the website because I think community holds a lot of meaning, but it implies like teamwork and working with others. Whereas citizen, that's an individual, right? That's one person trying to do this on their own or contribute. But as far as community science, that means we can get, our students and their families and everyone involved. So I've heard that. And so I just want to mention citizen science, community science, to view it as they might have the same goal, but words do have meaning. And I like the community science moniker maybe better. And so what is citizen science? What is this? You might have heard this term before. It's becoming really popular, especially I think with the pandemic and with people not being able to get together. And so the way I described it is it's kind of like crowdsourcing or crowdfunding research, as opposed to a PhD candidate doing all of this by themselves, having to just spend hours and hours collecting data, or traveling and just things that might not be possible. They turn to the community. They turn to the people who live in the environments that they're researching, or just their natural tools through the internet, and say, help us out. Can you help us? We need a lot of data. And these undergrads and their teams just can't do it on their own. And so that's really what it is. It's crowdsourcing research. And so the great thing about citizen science, you might say, is, well, I teach middle schoolers. I'm not sure how helpful or how detail oriented they are enough to contribute to a real research effort, but they do have their own kind of process. They have tutorials. They build in kind of redundancy to make sure that the data that is being collected or is being contributed to is valid and accurate. And so they include those tutorials. Again, you'll find that this is real research by real scientists. That these are active, contemporary efforts being made by people who are maybe in our community or maybe international. You'll see that there's a lot of different opportunities. And then again, that participants can really contribute. I think that's something that is very, very important in the classrooms nowadays, especially for an environmental science, because students are learning about these challenges that Mother Earth is going through, and that there are solutions. There are, we have to gather data. We have to learn more about the problem so we can address it. And your average high school student might not be in the position to affect that. They might not think they can. And by participating in this, you'll see that anyone can. Anyone, even just with an internet connection and a smartphone, can contribute to these efforts. And so why do we want to share these with our students? This is citizen science. This doesn't say, student science or education science, but there are quite a few reasons. The first one is probably one of my favorite ones, is that it allows students to see research in action, not just thinking about science research as this thing that follows steps and is very linear and happened, 100 years ago by these people who are dead now. You can't even talk to them, but they get to see that how science works in the real world, how we have to gather data or change things, or just what we're learning right now. And I think that's very valuable for students to see how it's happening in action. The other one is, I think, helping them to make a difference. Students, I think this generation really, unfortunately or fortunately, they're very exposed to these challenges, and they want to help. I think that's natural. And by participating in citizen science, they can do that. And especially if they're not particularly interested in science, or they don't think that they're talented at it, anyone can. You don't need necessarily a science background or in-depth content knowledge to do so.
There was there's a couple apps that are citizen science, right? Like where they identify stuff. I forgot. There's a challenge or something.
Yes, I think you're referring to the City Nature Challenge.
Yes, that one.
Yes, that's actually, I have the link right here.
Oh,
that one's through iNaturalist. Thank you for bringing it up, Candace.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
No, natural segue. But I'm glad that Candace brought it up, because iNaturalist is one of the more popular and I think is really pervasive. And like for you, Lisette, there's a version for young children that doesn't include the maybe the communication aspect. But just like Candace said, that one has a very low kind of bar to get into. You don't need to be able to know what all the names of the plants are or the animals are, because other people will identify them for you. So if you're not familiar with iNaturalist, it is an app, and I've used it at the graduate level, but that's because I'm a little older. I bet I know middle school and high school are using it now. But essentially, you can walk out your door right now and you see a natural plant growing in your lawn or at the side of the road, and you can take a picture of it. And it accomplishes two things. Number one, you can find out, what is the name of this plant? I see it everywhere, and I just realized I don't know what it is. And it connects you. It's essentially almost a community, an online community, and someone's going to know. And if they don't know exactly the name, they're going to have an idea of the family, or narrowing it down what it is. And it allows you to learn about the world around you, right? We have all these cacti, all these beautiful plants in the desert that if you're not looking, it just kind of blurs out. But if you learn the names and it just makes your life richer to understand the world around you. But also it allows you to contribute to a better effort of understanding the biodiversity of the world, and especially of our environments. And so we can actually do this. We can look at it right now. We can say, well, what's in El Paso County? And we have over 40,000 observations. And it gives you an idea of what lives here, what plants and how common are they? And this information is extremely useful, especially when researching how the environment is changing and how those how common some plants are or not common they are is changing due to climate change and different things like that. The ocotillo is probably, I don't think I have it organized by most common, but very, very common plant that if you might have seen it and you don't know what it is, this is something that grows naturally, but also something that people use in their, to decorate their yards, right? And then just different cacti. And so this is a wonderful, wonderful, very well-developed citizen science project. And I'm glad Candace brought that one up, because I was actually going to skip it. I thought most people knew about it. And I'm glad you did, so I could refer to it. And then just the last, I'm going to show a few other projects, but this is a technology, right? A technology workshop or a technology session. And there's many kind of layers to this session, I feel, because number one, well, how can a teacher utilize technology to help teach these concepts, right? How can a teacher use the technology, the free technology that's available to teach the content, to get students interested and all of that? But also, technology is being used to actually make change in our environments, to address problems, to be inspired by nature and make better solutions. And I think that this, by participating in citizen science, students can see firsthand how technology and engineering and computer science and all of these career paths work with environmental science, work with research and with making our world a better place, and to maybe even see how they fit into that in their future. And so that's one thing that I really like about including technology, and especially artificial intelligence. That one's kind of a buzzword that you hear, and you might hear it more used like in video games or used in just kind of very removed. But we're actually using it to learn more about the environment and to build solutions and to understand what fish are here, what kind of fish are here, how many of them are there, and understand that aspect. And so there are several ones that I want to point out that I found that I think have the easiest way. Number one, iNaturalist. Seek is another one. Seek is pointed more towards your younger students. So especially like Eula said, if you're working with early education, maybe even elementary, this one kind of takes away that social media aspect. They don't have to make kind of an account with their face or anything like that, but it still allows them to take pictures and identify what they're seeing. And also, identify it, take the pictures, and I do believe that it also still contributes to the greater effort that iNaturalist is doing, but it's just more geared towards the youth.
Well, you know, with this pandemic, the little ones, they have gotten so good with computer. They even teach me things.
No, right. And I like it because it kind of shows them like, hey, it's okay to be on your phone, but we can be on our phone and doing good stuff. We can still be having fun, but maybe learning something or contributing to just these very, very noble efforts, I guess. But I agree, Lisa. They get it. They learn very, very quickly. To point out some of the other ones, the Cornell lab is focused on birding. So I know that that's gotten very popular throughout the pandemic, is people going out and seeing birds. And birds are also very sensitive to environmental change. So that one is a good effort. Project Noah is focused on, and I like bringing this one up, especially for the environmental summit, because it's focused more on photography. So you might have students who are maybe they're not super into science and biology, but they love photography. And so Project Noah is actually more focused on taking very good pictures or more artful pictures of the world around you. And so that one I do want to point out. I think that might be a good way to get those kinds of students interested and still being able to contribute to these larger efforts. The other two that I really want to point out are Zooniverse and SciStarter. So both of these are not, they're not community citizen science projects within and of themselves, but they are basically a reservoir or a place where you can find projects that you want to share with your students, that they themselves kind of vet. They host them in their format, which once you get used to one, it's very familiar, and they connect you with ideas. You can search through them, whatever you're interested in, they'll show you what projects are currently going on right now that you and your students can contribute to. And SciStarter is another similar one. I believe Zooniverse is more focused on, they use a lot of like trail cam data, things like that. Whereas even with SciStarter, you will find some that are actually, they're like games. basically. Like it feels like you're playing a game, but you're really kind of training an AI or just providing data or even analyzing data that is being collected at a rate that, you know, two undergrads or however a team cannot analyze on their own. And your students can be doing that, you know, at the end of class. They can be doing that. I know the AP environmental science, I think the paper test was yesterday. So you have some time at the end if you want to allow students to have some choice and explore some other things. This is a great resource. Another thing that I like about SciStarter and Zooniverse that I want to point out is with iNaturalist and some of the other ones, that another one that I'll talk about, it does require going out into the community, traveling, you know, hiking, things like that. But that might not always be accessible to your students for whatever reason, or it might be something that you want to give them time to do in class, whether it's virtual or in person. You know, they can't be going out on a hike where, you know, if you teach in the classroom. So a lot of these you're able to do from your computer. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to take pictures. You download an app either. Some of these you can contribute just from your computer. And so I want to show some of them as an example. The first one, I'm going to show this one, the Ocean Eyes project. And what this one is all about is you're actually helping Hawaii and some of the other Pacific Islands basically measure and take stock of the types of fish and their prominence, I guess, at different levels in the ocean. And so it's too much. Like, I don't know, you're not going to send a diver down to count the fish. You can't always rely on what the boats and the fisheries report to you. So they want to train AI. They want to train software that they can just install these cameras in the water, and the cameras take count. And so they need help training it. So this one, just to show you, it basically gives you a tutorial on how to identify fish from the images that are provided. So you don't even, you know, I'm from El Paso. I don't know. I've never been to Hawaii. I don't know too much about marine life. And with this one, it gives you a tutorial. Really, it trains you on what to do. And you can do all of this in bed, right, on your computer. And it shows you how they want you to mark the fish, and then the different types of fish, because that's important too. They want to know which one exactly. I don't know anything about fish, but okay. So you're telling me this one has the black stripes? Okay, I can identify that. And I like these because we can benefit from our students participating in local to the area projects, but I also think it's important to show them how they can contribute to international or to efforts that are being made in places they don't live, that they're not familiar with, that they can also make that change, even as a teenager, maybe with not too many resources. They can contribute to these efforts and learn more about it. And so this one actually trains you, gives you some tips on what to see. And then once you're there, they ask you to, you get started immediately. So the camera took this picture. I do see a fish. Yes. Okay. I don't know what kind it was because I was talking through the tutorial, but that's okay. I can go back to the tutorial and see which type of fish it is. I think you guys want to help me out. Do you have any idea? It doesn't have stripes. That one does. Okay. That one has a very curvy tail at the end. It doesn't look like that one. It definitely doesn't look like that one. So I think it might be either this one. Well, that one's too not dark enough. Well, I don't know. And that's okay, because what they do is when they're training this, I'm not the only one that's going to see this picture. This picture will also be shown to dozens or maybe even more people that we all input the data and they go through it and use it to train artificial intelligence software that's going to be identifying the fish and informing efforts.
That is very cool. There were some educators that they couldn't make it today because they had other engagements, but they wanted access to this recording. So this is going to be perfect.
Oh, I'm glad. And the longer PD, I make us sit and we go in breakout rooms and we actually go through it. But
yes.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot more. That's just one that I picked. I thought that one was fun because I'm not too familiar with Hawaii or fish in that area, but I was like, I'll give it a try. And it's also quite easy. You saw I did not have to make an account necessarily. If I just wanted to contribute, they do have kind of badges and things like that to keep track. But if you don't want to do that, no accounts, no remembering passwords and usernames and things like that. Just a very easy way to get involved. I do want to give a plug for a local and contemporary citizen science efforts that Insights is actually promoting right now. From the time that we're recording this until about, I think we're collecting data even into July and beyond. And this one is all about urban heat islands and collecting data that will be kind of collected and organized to show where in El Paso are we experiencing these heat islands. And students, you guys, people watching this, I can even, I can challenge you to try this one. If you're going to try one, Ocean Eyes is a great one for a virtual kind of far away effort. And this is one where you can contribute to the effort right away, you and your students. And so this one is, again, so SciStarter, so SciStarter is hosting us. That's why it's great to use these. And the way it's being done is through, we create a SciStarter account so that way you can get credit. And then the way that it's used is with this IC Change program, and it's actually an app. I think you can also use it on your computer. And this one doesn't require any science background either. Really, what you're reporting on is your observations. Like yesterday. Yesterday the weather was so weird. It was sprinkling on the west side, and in the northeast we had threats of rain and mostly dust, and you could see like thunderstorms south of us, and you can report that to just contribute to what is going on here. Other programs, they might have thermometers and they have their weather stations, but this one specifically relies on human observations. What do you see? How do you feel? Is it normal what you're observing? Is it expected, unexpected? And that data that you contribute, they're actually going to participate in a summit, like a forum, I think, later in July, where they kind of share the results. And this is something that you and your students can contribute to immediately and locally, and see the change that you're helping make happen right away. And so those links are on the website. Again, if you're viewing this video later, we'll include just the link to the website, and all of it is on here. You can access it all. And that's the flyer for the Urban Heat Islands. And so we have about 10 minutes left. I'll cover simulations very quickly. The first thing is, the reason I wanted to add that to this session and I covered, is that incorporating technology, not just, as a tool, right? Okay, I'm using technology, I'm using Google Classroom and things like that. Not like that, but incorporating technology to actually learn about or to design solutions to environmental problems can engage students who otherwise may not have been interested. These are your students who maybe are more interested in engineering or computer science, or are motivated to make a positive change in their world. And they really like technology. And so informing them and sharing ways that people are using technology to combat all these challenges is, I think, a very powerful way, a very easy real world application for your students. And so those are just two articles that actually cover some neat technological innovations. It can include some things like biomimicry, being inspired by nature to design something to solve the problems that we're experiencing. But also, I want to share as a resource my kind of collection of my favorite free, capital, free online simulations that you can use as your labs, whether they're structured or more just kind of inquiry based, where they try out the lab and they make observations and then you jump into content after that. But it can be difficult to find simulations or online labs for environmental science. Chemistry has a ton, physics has quite a few models and experiments that can be done in person and virtually, whereas environmental science might have a little bit of a challenge. So all of these links, again, they're all on the website, are number one, they're free. Number two, I went through them and they've kind of passed Sue's bar of user friendliness. And I've made notes. I think out of all of these, Net Logo is probably the least student friendly. But the rest of them I like, and I've included some notes. But what I do want to say is all of these are free. All of them are based off of a browser, right? They use your internet, no downloads, because I know that getting districts to approve downloads is super difficult. And they cover different topics, but also I know that a lot of you teachers don't just teach environmental science. So if you can click on some of these and you'll see that they also cover other topics. They have like modules or simulations of all different kinds of science topics, but this is my collection of my favorite environmental science related ones. These are ones related to specifically environmental science topics. And Lisette, what's Bug Hunt? Can you tell me a little bit about Bug Hunt? That sounds cool.
I just saw it right there. When you see on the top left?
Mm-hmm.
It's under the wolf sheep Bug Hunt.
Oh yeah, I put that in there. Let's see this one. We can look at it together. So I will say Net Logo, again, it's a simulation, but it's not the most student friendly. So you can kind of see it, right? This is lots of buttons, lots of things to scroll. And so this one, you might need a lot more kind of structure or instructions for the students. You can say, it depends on who you teach, but you might not just let them go free. With this one specifically, you might tell them, try this out. What do you see? Change this, the bugs to infect. Oh, I think this one's was about parasites. Yeah. Ticks. That's a more guided. Others like Bioman, this is gamified learning. So when you first see it, you might be, trust me, this is still fun. I like Bioman and I use it with an ad blocker personally, but these are just different simulations, different ways to show your students the topic. And this one, I believe, is an interactive, but some of them are actually games. That one's fun, but others are more focused on students trying things and observing the effect that they have in kind of in a lab kind of setting. But if all the bunnies die in your natural selection, that's okay. It's a program. And PhET is actually making a really good, just as a heads up for everyone, Flash doesn't work anymore, but PhET is, they might almost be done, but they're converting all of their software to HTML5. And what that means is, again, they just run on a MacBook Air, on a Chromebook, on things like that, no downloads needed. And for all of these, another thing I like is you can, but it is not required for teachers or for students to make accounts. That's something that in the classroom, I always try to shy away from because no one remembers their password and no one remembers their usernames. And I would rather them just send me a screenshot or something of the like. So I appreciate all of these. Teachers can make accounts for some of them. And use them to keep track of student progress and things like that, but none of these need it. You can just have the students explore it in whatever method that you would prefer. And the last one I just want to share that I think is very fun, and you can try it out, and it's something fun to have with your students, is this AI for Oceans. Code.org is naturally, it's a computer programming website. It's more geared towards elementary and middle school when it comes to the coding, because it is mostly focused on drag and drop and things like that. The reason I included this one for this session is you're actually you go through the process of learning how artificial intelligence is trained to pick up litter from the ocean. I think that's a problem that is not necessarily close to home, but something that is relevant and valid. And students can go through this. It's pretty fun. Something that I would use just maybe as more a fun exploration, just a way of seeing how artificial intelligence is utilized. Is this code.org one. Code.org is naturally programming, but that one specifically I wanted to share and point out because I really appreciate how it shows students how engineering and technology, we can learn about the environment, we can collect data. It's the world we live in, but there's also room and there's a place for students to grow up and become people who address these challenges, people who are informed about them. And if they're interested in engineering or technology, things, STEM careers, it just gives them ideas and shows them a little bit more about what they can do to not just learn and gather information about the world we live in, but also to really protect Earth and Mother Nature and kind of try to maybe right some of the wrongs. But that's what I've got. I'm really appreciative. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the space to come and do this discussion, Candace. Thank you, Lisette, for attending and for your participation. I appreciate it. For the viewers, if you do view this and you have any questions, my email right there is sue@insightselpaso. Shoot me an email. I'll listen and offer ideas. You can just reach out, but that's all I've got.
Perfect. Oh, that was very, very informative. Thank you so much. I know that's going to be a resource for people to even refer to back later. Yeah, but Lizette, I hope you enjoyed it. That's a lot of good information. I know you're going to use it.
I'm going to use it. I was screenshotting.
And again, this recording will be available on YouTube. It will go out through the newsletter and it will be on the website. So it'll be at multiple locations. Sue, you're awesome. Thank you so much for everything you do.
No, thank you. I'm so happy. I've been following Green Hope for a few years, and I'm grateful to finally be able to kind of join one of your events and contribute. And it was an honor and a pleasure for me too.
Yeah. Well, next year we're hoping to do in person and do a big conference style, have live music, have workshops, hands-on for kids, an art show. I think it'll be fun.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Have a great Saturday.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Bye.